Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to listen to me very carefully today, because what I am about to share with you is not just a message, it is a principle. And whenever you violate a principle, you will always experience pain. Many of us have asked ourselves, why does my kindness often lead to disrespect? Why do the very people I help treat me as though I am nothing? And the answer is simple. Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. Even your kindness can be abused when you do not understand how to apply it with wisdom. Kindness must always be balanced with boundaries, because kindness without boundaries is not kindness at all. It becomes silent permission for others to misuse your heart. Many people think that being kind means allowing everything, accepting everything, tolerating everything, and carrying everything. But listen carefully, you were not created to be a doormat. You were created to be a doorway to purpose. And a doorway must have a frame. A door without a frame falls. A door without hinges cannot stand. Likewise, kindness without structure collapses into disrespect. There is a difference between being kind and being available at the expense of yourself. When your kindness becomes constant self-sacrifice without accountability, people begin to expect it as a duty rather than appreciate it as a gift. The more you keep giving without boundaries, the more invisible you become in the eyes of those who receive. They stop seeing your heart and start seeing your usefulness. They begin to take, not because they need, but because they assume you will always give. And that is where disrespect is born. Not because you were kind, but because you failed to protect your value while being kind. Here is your hook. People don't abuse kindness. They abuse unprotected kindness. Every valuable thing in life is protected. Gold is hidden, diamonds are locked. Royalty is guarded. Yet the heart, something far more precious, is often left exposed to anyone who comes near. But understand this principle. Your heart is a treasure. Every treasure must have a boundary. When you set boundaries, you are not being harsh, you are being wise. You are telling the world, I know who I am and I respect who I am. Boundaries do not limit love, they strengthen love. They help you decide where your kindness ends and someone else's responsibility begins. For example, you can help someone stand, but you cannot walk for them. You can teach someone wisdom, but you cannot think for them. You can encourage someone's dream, but you cannot dream on their behalf. When you do more for others than they are willing to do for themselves, your kindness turns into their dependency, and dependency often turns into entitlement. Entitlement always breeds disrespect. Another hook, when you teach people that your yes has no cost, they stop valuing your presence. Kindness must come with clarity. People must know that your kindness is a choice, not an obligation. They must understand that you are gentle because you choose peace, not because you lack strength. When your kindness is rooted in self-awareness and self-respect, people feel it. They see the confidence behind your compassion. They recognize that your heart is open, but not unguarded. You must learn to say no without guilt, because every no you speak to others is a yes. You speak to your own dignity. And dignity is the foundation of respect. If you do not honor yourself, nobody else will. If you allow others to disregard your limits, they will never consider your feelings. People do not respect what is always available. They respect what is valued, protected, and defined. So remember this, kindness is powerful, but only when it is supported by boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They do not keep love out, they keep disrespect out. And the moment you learn to guard your value, your kindness will no longer be mistaken for weakness, but recognized as wisdom. People treat you according to the standard you set, and this is one of the greatest principles of human behavior. The world does not respond to your intentions, it responds to your presentation. You can have the kindest heart, the purest motives, and the most sincere love, but if you do not communicate your worth, people will overlook it. Respect is not something you request. Respect is something you establish by how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you allow others to treat you, and the expectations you set in every relationship in your life. Kindness is beautiful, but kindness without standards becomes an invitation for others to treat you casually. And when something is treated casually, it is never valued deeply. Here is the truth: you teach people how to treat you. Even when you are silent, you are teaching. Even when you do not respond, you are sending a message. Silence is a language. Acceptance is a language. Tolerance is a language. The question is, what have you been saying without speaking? If you constantly accept behavior that hurts you, you are teaching others that your comfort is negotiable. If you always say, it's okay, when you are hurting inside, you are teaching others that your feelings do not require consideration. If you allow yourself to be last, you are teaching others that you do not mind staying there. Hook. If you lower your standards to keep someone, you will lose yourself in the process. And once you lose yourself, the relationship no longer has anything real to honor. People respond to what you demand, not what you desire. You may desire respect, but if you do not demonstrate self-respect, people will treat you according to the level of value you show. When you walk into a room with confidence, not arrogance, but calm assurance, you signal to others that you know who you are. That alone changes how they behave around you. Your posture, your tone, your boundaries, your self-discipline, your patience, your refusal to engage in unnecessary conflict, all of these create a standard. Some people believe that being humble means disappearing. No, humility does not mean shrinking. Humility means being secure. When you know who you are, you do not need to shout. You do not need to prove. You do not need to chase. True confidence is quiet, steady, and attractive. It draws respect without demanding it. But here is where many people make a mistake. They expect others to recognize their value automatically. They wait for others to see their goodness. They hope that people will appreciate their efforts on their own. But appreciation is not automatic. It is inspired by clarity. You must communicate your expectations with dignity. You must let people know what is acceptable and what is not. And you must enforce those standards consistently, without anger, without drama, without begging. Boundaries spoken but not enforced are just suggestions, and suggestions are ignored. Another hook: your standards are not for controlling others. They are for protecting your peace. When you establish a standard, you are not saying you must change. You are saying, this is the level on which I operate. If you want access to my presence, my energy, my loyalty, my kindness, then you must interact with me at that level. And if they choose not to, you do not argue. You simply step back. Your absence will often teach more than your words ever could. When people see that you are willing to walk away rather than be dishonored, they begin to respect your value. Not because you demanded respect, but because you demonstrated it. Respect grows from self-respect. The world mirrors your sense of worth. And when you carry yourself like someone who understands their value, people have no choice but to recognize it. Not everyone deserves access to your heart, your energy, or your time. Access is not something you give freely. Access is something that must be earned. When you allow everyone into your life without discernment, you make your presence common. And anything that becomes common eventually becomes undervalued. The problem many people face is not that they are too kind, it is that they are too available to the wrong people. Availability without qualification invites disrespect, dependency, and emotional fatigue. You must learn to be generous in spirit, but selective in access. Your life is a garden. Your peace is the soil. Your time is the water. Your attention is the sunlight. Not every plant deserves to grow in your garden. Some will bear fruit. Others will produce thorns. Some will enrich your soil. Others will drain it. This is why you must evaluate who enters your space. Ask yourself, does this person add to my life or subtract from it? Do they honor my efforts or take advantage of them? Do they step toward growth or do they depend on me to carry them? You are not responsible for watering every seed that falls near you. You are responsible for guarding the soil of your life. Hook your heart is not public property. It is a private territory, and permission is required to enter. Some people should only receive your kindness from a distance. Not everyone should have access to your conversation, your emotions, or your inner world. There is a difference between showing love to all and allowing all to sit at your table. Jesus fed 5,000, but he only mentored 12. Even within the 12, he only took 3 to the mountain. And among those 3, only 1 rested on his chest. That means everyone is loved, 4 are trusted, and only 1 is close. Your life requires that same structure. When you give access to people who are not mature enough to handle it, they will mishandle your kindness. They will treat your presence lightly. They will assume your patience means they can do anything. They will believe your forgiveness means you have no standards. And before you realize it, your emotional energy will be drained by those who do not care to replenish it. People must earn proximity to you. Proximity is a privilege. It is not a right. You decide who sits in what row of your life. Some people belong in the balcony, watching from a distance. Some belong in the second row, close, but not close enough to influence your emotions. And a very select few belong in the front row, near your heart, where trust, honesty, and mutual respect exist. The mistake many people make is that they hand out front row seats to people who bought balcony tickets. Another hook: never promote someone emotionally who has not proven themselves spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Access requires observation. Watch how people treat themselves, how they speak to others, how they handle disappointment, how they respond to correction, how they talk when they're angry. These are the indicators of whether someone is qualified to be near you. If a person cannot control their emotions, they cannot be trusted with yours. If a person is careless with their words, they will eventually be careless with their loyalty. If a person only values you when they need something, they do not value you. They value your convenience, your time, your peace, your energy, and your presence or your currency. If you invest them without wisdom, you will end up emotionally bankrupt. But when you learn to be open-hearted yet selective, warm yet discerning, kind yet confident, you preserve your value and you attract people who recognize it. Because the truth is simple. People who truly honor, you will never ask you to compromise yourself to keep them. They will rise to meet the standard you stand on. You are not responsible for everyone's comfort, and understanding this is an act of maturity. Many people exhaust themselves emotionally, spiritually, and mentally because they have taken on burdens that were never theirs to carry. They confuse kindness with responsibility. They believe that loving others means constantly saving, rescuing, fixing, and carrying their weight. But listen carefully, you cannot carry someone else's life for them. You can support, you can guide, you can encourage, but you cannot live for them. When you make yourself responsible for everyone's comfort, you slowly abandon your own peace, your own purpose, and your own emotional stability. The truth is, some people do not want to grow. Some people do not want change, they want relief. They want you to solve what they refuse to confront. They want the benefits of maturity without the process of transformation. And if you allow yourself to become their constant rescuer, you are not helping them, you are enabling them. Enabling is not kindness. And enabling is participating in someone's avoidance of their own growth. Real love does not remove consequences. Real love provides support while someone faces their own reality. Hook, you are not the answer to everyone's problems. You are an instrument, not the source. There is a difference between helping someone who is trying and carrying someone who is not. Helping someone who is trying strengthens them. Carrying someone who is not trying weakens both of you. The more you carry people who refuse to walk, the heavier life becomes for you and the easier life becomes for them. You begin to drown in responsibilities that do not belong to you while they remain comfortable in dependency. And eventually, resentment is born because your investment is not matched, your effort is not appreciated, and your sacrifice is not reciprocated. Life was never designed for you to be the hero of everyone else's story. Even God does not control human choice. He gives guidance, instruction, and freedom. If God gives people the dignity of choosing their own growth, you must do the same. You must allow people to experience the discomfort that leads to wisdom. Discomfort is not cruelty. It is often the catalyst for change. Some of you have spent years trying to keep the peace in relationships that drain you. You apologize when you have done nothing wrong. You fix problems you did not create. You hold conversations that others avoid. You initiate healing while others initiate damage. And you call this love. But love cannot flourish in imbalance. For love to work, both people must take responsibility for themselves. When only one person carries the emotional weight, the relationship stops being a partnership and becomes a burden. Another hook: protecting your peace is not selfish, it is stewardship. Your peace is your stability, and stability is necessary for purpose. When your peace is compromised, your clarity disappears. When your clarity disappears, your direction fades. When your direction fades, you lose yourself. And when you lose yourself, everyone loses you. The very people you are trying to help end up losing the strongest version of you because you refuse to protect your own strength. You must learn to say, I am here for you, but I cannot carry this for you. You must learn to offer support without surrendering your well-being. You must learn to be compassionate without becoming consumed. You must learn to help without replacing someone's responsibility with your own effort. You must learn to care without collapsing under the weight of care. Your life has assignment. Your soul has capacity. Your heart has limits. You were not created to be everything for everyone. You were created to be who you are, fully, clearly, and purposefully. And when you understand that, you realize the greatest act of love you can offer is to remain whole. A whole person gives better. A whole person loves better. A whole person leads better. And a whole person knows when to help and when to step back. Humility is often misunderstood. Many people believe that being humble means being silent, invisible, or small. They think humility requires them to step back, accept disrespect, or suppress their own value. But that is a distortion of what humility truly is. Humility is not the absence of confidence. It is confidence without arrogance. It is strength that does not need to shout. It is dignity that does not need approval. When kindness is paired with humility but not with strength, people assume weakness. And when people assume weakness, they begin to handle you carelessly. You must understand that true humility is power under control, not power surrendered. You can be gentle and still be firm. You can be loving and still correct. You can be kind and still have standards. There is nothing righteous about letting others mistreat you. There is nothing noble about staying silent when your boundaries are crossed. Humility says, I know who I am. Weakness says, I will accept anything to be liked. And these two are not the same. When you walk in humility with confidence, you remind people that even though your heart is open, it is not unprotected. Your kindness is intentional, not desperate. Your love is strong, not fragile. Hook, if you do not define your value, others will define it for you, and they will always define it lower. Some people are not disrespecting you because they are cruel. They are disrespecting you because you have never shown them where the line is. You have never said, this is who I am, or this is what I expect, or this is what I will not tolerate. Humility does not silence your voice. Humility clarifies your voice. It allows you to speak from a place of assurance rather than anger. When you communicate your boundaries with calmness and strength, people listen, not because you demanded respect, but because you commanded it. There is a quiet authority in someone who knows their value. They do not need to convince, chase, or prove. They demonstrate. Your tone changes. Your posture changes. Your choices change. You no longer move from insecurity. You move from identity. You no longer try to earn love. You express love from a stable place. You no longer fear rejection. You understand that who walks away cannot carry your destiny anyway. People often say they want love, but love cannot survive without respect. Respect is the foundation that allows love to breathe. When humility lacks confidence, love suffocates. But when humility stands with dignity, love thrives. You must learn to hold both. You must learn to walk with a soft heart and a solid spine. You can forgive without granting repeated access. You can be patient without being passive. You can be understanding without abandoning your standards. Another hook, your softness is a gift, but your strength is protection. Think of a lion. A lion does not roar to prove it is powerful. Its presence is enough. A lion does not need to convince anything of its strength. It simply knows. And because it knows, everything around it responds to that knowledge. This is how you must be. Quiet strength, controlled power, compassion that is guided by wisdom. You were not created to suppress yourself. You were created to express your purpose with clarity and grace. When you embrace your worth, humility becomes your foundation, not your prison. You walk into rooms knowing you belong there. You speak with a balance of gentleness and authority. You give with generosity, but you do not lose yourself in the giving. You love deeply, but you do not allow that love to erase your identity. When you understand that humility is strength, not weakness, your kindness becomes unshakable. People no longer see you as someone to take advantage of, but someone to honor. Because your presence itself teaches them how to treat you. Discernment is the wisdom that guides kindness. Kindness on its own is a beautiful expression of the heart, but when kindness is not guided by discernment, it can become draining and sometimes even dangerous to your emotional well-being. Discernment allows you to recognize who deserves your time, who deserves your energy, and who deserves your compassion in close proximity. Without discernment, you begin to give equal access to people who do not have equal intentions. You begin to treat everyone with the same level of trust, even though not everyone has earned that trust. And this is where kindness begins to be misunderstood as weakness. Hook kindness is powerful, but wisdom is what makes kindness effective. Discernment is not suspicion, and it is not judgment. Suspicion looks for what is wrong. Judgment condemns. But discernment simply sees clearly. It looks beyond words and observes behavior. It looks beyond promises and examines patterns. It looks beyond charm and watches character. Words can inspire, but behavior reveals truth. Discernment teaches you to pay attention to what a person repeatedly does, not what they occasionally say. There will always be people who are drawn to your kindness because of how it makes them feel. But not everyone who is drawn to you is aligned with you. Some are drawn to your warmth because they are cold inside. Some are drawn to your strength because they are unstable. Some are drawn to your giving nature because they are empty and refuse to fill themselves. Discernment helps you distinguish between those who need support and are willing to grow, and those who simply want to use your kindness as a cushion for their irresponsibility. Another hook, be careful not to confuse someone who is grateful for your help with someone who is attached to your benefits. There is a difference. A grateful person recognizes your heart. They respect your limits. They show appreciation. They invest effort in their own growth. But a person who is attached to your benefits will only remain as long as you are useful to them. Remove the benefit, and their loyalty disappears. Discernment protects you from this emotional trap. Discernment also helps you determine how much to give and when to step back. Sometimes the most loving action you can take is to allow someone to experience the consequences of their own decisions. If you rush to rescue someone every time they face difficulty, you interrupt the very process that would have developed their strength. Growth requires struggle. Strength requires pressure. Responsibility develops through experience, not rescue. You cannot carry someone into maturity. They must walk there. And here is something important. Discernment does not make you cold. It makes you wise in how you love. It replaces emotional exhaustion with emotional intelligence. You begin to love with clarity, not confusion. You begin to support others without destroying yourself in the process. You begin to choose relationships that are mutual, not one-sided. Your kindness becomes more meaningful because it is intentional, no longer scattered or wasted on those who cannot appreciate it. Discernment gives your kindness direction. It teaches you to place your energy where it will be respected. It reminds you that your heart is valuable, and valuable things are not handed out carelessly. Diamonds are not thrown into the streets. Gold is not stored in the open. The more valuable a thing is, the more protected it must be. Your heart, your peace, your love, your presence, they are priceless. They require wise distribution, not random access. Hook, the goal is not to love less, but to love smarter. When kindness is guided by discernment, it becomes stronger, deeper, and more impactful. You are able to help without losing yourself. You are able to give without becoming depleted. You are able to love without being disrespected. And most importantly, you remain emotionally whole, spiritually grounded, and mentally clear. Because your kindness is no longer something people can misuse. It becomes something they must honor to receive. My friends, hear me today. Continue being kind, but be wise, do good. But don't lose yourself in the process. Protect your peace. Guard your value. Establish boundaries. Because kindness is powerful, but kindness without clarity invites disrespect. And I declare to you, from this day forward, you will no longer apologize for valuing yourself. You will love others without abandoning yourself. May wisdom guide your kindness, and may your kindness never again become an invitation to disrespect. Thank you.